What's up, everybody? Jensen Cummings here. Thank you, as always, for tuning in today. Best Served Podcast 153. Enhance anyone's food experience with Kelly Schexnaildre of Merfs Condiments. I'm very excited to have you on, Kelly. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's awesome. I'm excited.
I am surrounded by hot sauce. A little foreshadowing. We'll get into that. But I want to tell people a little bit about this channel, Best Served Good. We're really focused on CPG, consumer packaged goods, and talking to owners, operators of small companies that kind of have their boutique sauces, condiments, pickles, whatever that might be, to be able to kind of understand what's happening. I also believe heavily that restaurants need to be thinking about CPG and getting their brands out there. And Kelly's got a great company, great insights there. So we'll be talking about that a little bit. All right, Kelly, tell us very specifically, Merfs. What is Merfs? What can people expect when they engage with your company?
So I created Merfs Condiments in 2014, just, surveying kind of the condiment market. And I wanted to have spicy condiments, specifically hot sauce that were both delicious and flavorful with a little bit of heat that could be really versatile in their uses. I think that the offerings right on a national level are Tabasco, Cholula, Frank's Red Hot. And I just really thought that hot sauce could be just so much more than the national offerings, so much more than the just thin vinegar style chili sauce. So we focus on using all natural, fresh, and sometimes organic ingredients to just create products that are incredibly versatile in the kitchen with a little bit of spice on the back end.
I love it. Balance is something that occurs to me having tried all of your sauces and a few new ones that we're going to try today too as well. So it seems obvious now because in 2020 there are so many hot sauces. Hot sauces become a culture in and of itself, and I think of Hot Ones and others, TV shows around hot sauce, and I think Sean's got a game show, like a trivia show around hot sauces. But in 2014 it was still pretty barren. You had some of the big boys and then some like regional favorites, but there wasn't the startup culture maybe and the chef-driven side of it. So I'm fascinated that. We'll talk about that a little bit. Let's take people back though. Your personal backstory. Where did this start for you pre-2014? Like, give us a little bit of background of you, kind of why you ended up in a condiment hot sauce company.
Yeah, sure thing. So I was born and raised in Louisiana, and we eat a lot of spicy food, a lot of seafood, a lot of rich French food, we've got the best cuisine in the world down in Louisiana. And, I moved to Denver in 2010. I got a liberal arts degree that I wasn't really doing anything with, and, just working at restaurants. And I've always been really passionate about food. Both of my parents are incredible cooks. And so I grew up eating, a meal at the table every night. And I don't know, I was thinking about what I wanted to do and, okay, am I going to go to graduate school? Am I going to wait tables for the rest of my life? Probably not, And so it just became abundantly clear to me through just some like research and experimentation that I was really great at making condiments of all sorts, relishes and tomato sauce and, hot sauce. And it just seemed like, okay, well, let me do some market research and see kind of what Denver can handle, and what Colorado is kind of in need of. And there wasn't, like you said, any hot sauce kind of going on in Colorado in 2014. And there were a couple of small startup companies, and I just, there was room in the market. And so I just went for it.
Couple things. First, your family is from Louisiana. We have family in Lafayette, and Acadians, right? They came down. They were the early.
That's right.
And so every family has like what are a couple iconic dishes for your family? Like, you go back, the must-haves, you got the family cookout. What does that look like?
The must-haves are, my mom makes this kind of stewed chicken that she calls sticky chicken. So basically you brown chicken thighs and you cook them down, and it's next level. You eat it. It's chicken and brown gravy essentially over rice. And it is I can't get enough. I have it every time I go home. Mom, will you please make sticky chicken for me? And then I'd say that I really remember most, my dad is an expert barbecuer. He loves smoking and he loves grilling and all manner of stuff. So, he fires up the grill every time I'm home too. And it's everything from chicken to brisket to, just anything you can grill. I think one of my favorite memories is he took duck breasts and marinated them in, like teriyaki sauce overnight, and then topped them with cream cheese and pickled jalapenos and wrapped them in bacon and grilled them. It was next level. I don't think I've ever eaten anything so good since, you know what I mean? So just really
what a cultural mashup that dish is. That's not classic Louisiana cooking.
I know.
So food is iconic there. It's so ingrained in the culture. Hot sauces, though, too. I mean, Tabasco, Louisiana Crystal, like you have a lot of competition for that regional sauce there. Those are all national brands as well, but very, very heavy there. You mentioned super heavy on vinegar and lingering spice are the two things that I take away from kind of those styles. From what you said with your style, it seems like you're very much on the opposite spectrum of that. Why was that? Were you not into those sauces? Did you feel like that market was saturated? You want to go a different way? Was Denver not into that style as far as what you saw out there from restaurants, what they were putting on the plate?
I mean, the honest answer is I wasn't really into those styles. I mean, look, I like Crystal. I will eat Crystal probably until the day I die. I like Louisiana hot sauce. I do not like Tabasco. I never have. But I wanted to do something different. I just felt like this is good and it's a specific style of hot sauce, and hot sauce can be so much more. We can incorporate all manner of flavors, vegetables, fruits, interesting flavor combinations like my coffee cherry chipotle. I just knew that hot sauce could be bigger and better than what was available on the market. So I just kind of really went for it.
I like it. So early days, 2014. You're doing the research. You don't know what you're doing. You're getting into condiments. You're like, I make some good stuff, but having some good stuff on the plate when your friends come over or at a restaurant is very different than starting a company focused on that. So let's get in that. The first product. What was the first product?
The first product was Peaches and Scream. So we relaunched it a couple years ago as a peach mango Carolina Reaper, right? But originally it was just a peach habanero hot sauce. So it was just peaches, habaneros, lemon juice, sugar, salt, vinegar. And, I had a buddy give me a half a bushel of peaches, because peaches grow well here in Colorado. And I just didn't want to make preserves or pie or any of that other nonsense. And so I made a peach habanero hot sauce, so I cooked it up right there in my kitchen, and pretty soon, it was like, oh shit, this is pretty good, so
we're off and running.
Yeah, up and running. So, the 2014 was, the year of how do you start a food manufacturing company. So it was, okay, I got to register with the Secretary of State. I got to get a business license. I got to get a wholesale manufacturing license. I got to register with the FDA. I got to get a commissary, and it's all that stuff that you just got to take it step by step. So I really did my homework and learned everything I needed to know, like I took a tax class at the Department of Revenue and all manner of things. And I really thought that my restaurant, my 12 years of restaurant experience was going to translate into food manufacturing. And it really didn't, like not at all. And so, it was really just a ton of research and then picking a company name and, okay, how many flavors are we going to have and where are we going to sell it and who are we going to sell it to? And, I wrote a business plan, kind of my target market, and I always wanted to work with food service predominantly. I wanted to get the sauce in people's mouths and create like a cult following, which I've managed to achieve. And, 2014, we started at the South Pearl Street Farmers Market. We had two products. We had the peach habanero and the pineapple sriracha, which is the hand grenade. Nice. And, it took me 4 hours to make 20 bottles of hand grenade, right, the first time I made it. And now, at the production facility, we can make, 3,000 bottles in about 6 hours. So
yeah, whole different scale. We're going to talk about scalability of recipes.
Yeah.
You mentioned naming the company. Who's Merfs? Who's Merf?
So Merf is my parents' Basset Hound. So I grew up with Basset Hounds. Honestly, the company name was my brother's idea. And I just thought, well, if we're going to name it Merfs, then we got to have a logo. I want people to see the bottle for it to be instantly recognizable. Yep. Colorado is so dog friendly, Yep. I never really set out to put a dog on hot sauce, but it sure has panned out for me really well. So
like you said, it's simple, it's iconic, it's memorable. It's the McDonald's arches. Like
yep.
Pure, simple. It stands out when people see it, they hear it. It's so often companies that do really well, especially in food space, are named after a person. because it personalizes somebody's experience. They feel like, even though they don't know that person, or it's not a real person even, they still feel connected to that a little bit more. So I like that, and played into Colorado very well.
Yep.
Smart. Good job, brother. Way to go. So, okay, so you're at the farmer's market. You're kind of doing that haul. You're schlepping it around. You're getting it in a couple of restaurants. When's the moment when you realize, all right, now we're really onto something? You start hiring a few people, not just like friends helping you out, but you hire some staff. You start to, get your SOPs down really tight. Like, when is that moment, and what's happening at that time for you?
I would say that was probably, between years 3 and 4 when stuff really started to get real, because the first 2 years you're really laying the foundation, right? Like, people need to be aware of you, and then you got to kind of have enough chops and nerve to do a lot of cold calling, running the streets, shaking hands, never giving up, calling people, And so by year 3, we had a pretty solid momentum. We had probably, I don't know, 100 wholesale accounts at year 3, maybe a few more than that. Plus we were doing farmers markets and doing retail online. And, it just got to be where it was way, way too much for me to manage alone. Honestly, it was because I was working 2 restaurant jobs and doing Merfs 50, 60 hours a week. And it's like, I was working 80, 90, 100 hours a week. And, you can only do that so long before you burn out, and you got to just suck it up and hire somebody. So I started at least hiring help in production. So
the first hires were production. You need somebody to help make sauce.
Yeah. Because, really I'm the best at sales, right? I'm the one doing the books. Like, that's all stuff that I can't really outsource at this very moment. Right. And so it was important for me to get somebody in there to help me at least make the hot sauce. So
you mentioned 3 revenue channels. You mentioned you have the direct-to-consumer side, DTC, where you're going to the farmer's market. You also have that online as a second revenue channel, and then you have wholesale. I'm interested, having watched the shift a little bit, even in some sauces, like I remember mustard. I think mustard was actually the first thing that I had from you, maybe Highland Tap back in the day. Anyway, so there was multiple transitions of the brand. You got to go to the farmer's market because you need to go where the people are. You need the wholesale because they're going to buy volume, and they're your people, restaurant people, so you have those connections. The long-term play in CPG most often is to really be on retail shelves at mass, and then also to be able to go direct to consumer through your website, especially something that's shelf stable like this. Let's talk about the sales a little bit. I'm guessing it was mostly in wholesale, then farmers market, and barely online when you started. Was that the case? I see you nodding yes. So give us an idea, roughly percentages of those 3 channels, and then let's talk about what they are today, because I'm interested in if they've completely inverted or kind of where you're at.
So wholesale is still going to be, 85, 90%, and it has been still today. Yeah. Okay. And direct to consumer is picking up. Obviously, people are buying more stuff online. I think the pandemic accelerated our trend to online. People are getting out of the stores. But I don't, other than the website, I don't do any other direct to consumer sales. I don't go to any markets or any events or anything like that. Mostly because I could probably do them in new markets and sell a lot, but we have saturated Denver to the point to where everybody has it at their home, at their house. So we really have had no success with markets in the last couple of years. So I just quit doing them. So
it's a good problem to have, though.
Yeah, it is.
Everyone's got it in their house. I think that's a great way to go. Let's talk about the sales. Got a lot of products here. I think I have 12 different hot sauces here.
Yep.
Give us an idea. Number 1 seller?
Number 1 seller is electric lime. It's like 43% of my total sales.
Wow. 43%. This guy
here. The one product. Yeah. So it's like I make green hot sauce for a living and I do everything else for fun,
I hear that. You hear that kind of stuff a lot where it's like, we probably should just focus on our singular product, be the crystal, be the sriracha, whatever that is. You're just driven to be innovative and have new products, which I think is also smart. Are you ever concerned of like spreading yourself too thin, too many styles, like anything like that? Or do you feel like having a well-rounded portfolio is part of your brand identity, even though the electric lime is really the moneymaker?
Both. I feel like both are true. I feel like currently I'm thinking about, we have a 1 ounce size, a half-gallon size, a 5 ounce, and a gallon. And I'm going to go down to just the 5 ounce and the gallon because there's kind of too much going on with 4 sizes, right? And then I'm thinking the pandemic series, we may keep some of those flavors around, but what'll end up happening is I'll discontinue them and then stay with my kind of core 8, or I might switch out a couple of the core 8 for the pandemic flavors and rebrand them, or, so it's kind of always a work in progress. I mean, I think that having a lot of sauces does spread you pretty thin. It forces you to really keep a lot of different, ingredient inventory on hand, and you're always running out of 4 sauces at the same time, so then production's a pain. And, so I think that, I have definitely been thinking about since the pandemic, like what are the ways to make my life at Merfs easier, and definitely slimming up the product line is one of those things. But I think while I may slim up the hot sauce side of it, I plan on launching wing sauce in September, October. And then I want to do a couple of other condiments as well. So I want to be like Merfs Condiments. Right now I'm Merfs Hot Sauce, and I really want to be Merfs Condiments. So
understood. It makes a lot of sense to me. Yeah. Do you run any stuff as LTOs, limited time offers, just to create a little buzz, create 72 cases of it, push them through, and not have to worry about that crossover of running out and needing to resaturate the market with that?
Correct. Yeah. And I mean, it's just, it's kind of fun, scarcity sells, and everybody wants to try something new that we're working on in the kitchen. And I can't, if I kept around a product every time I launched a new one, I'd have 50 by now, so like, you got to shelve some of them,
I think so. Scarcity does definitely. All right. So these guys here.
Yep.
Are the pandemic line, right? Like they are playful, social distance sriracha, stir crazy strawberry, pandemic peach, bubonic blueberry. Why those names? Why did you lean into kind of what's happening in this moment right now and do it in a fun, playful way? Why was that important to you?
I just wanted to give everybody a little chuckle while we were all kind of stuck at home. We had a lot of ingredients laying around the warehouse that were not getting used. We were doing a lot of random sort of product testing and some research and development at the beginning of the year. And so I wanted to create something that would get some laughs. I mean, it's been incredibly challenging for all of us to be socially distanced and to quarantine and to have none of our, we can't go eat at our favorite restaurants and, go shop at our favorite stores. And so it was just a tough time. Humans are not designed to be isolated. And I just wanted to really connect with my customers in a way that was fun and meaningful, and, just to let them know that we were thinking about them. So
let's say some sauce. All right.
Okay.
So we got to start with the electric lime. #1 seller, 43%. We got it up here, a little bit of information. All-purpose green hot sauce that's savory and fresh with flavors of roasted Colorado chilies combined with onions, garlic, and fresh lime juice. I like all of those things. Colorado chilies. Talk about that. Sourcing, local sourcing. Why is that important? What specific chilies are they?
So we're working with Lulu's Farm up in Brighton. So they grow jalapenos for us. I mean, jalapenos is such a classic, good flavor. I like serranos, but they're a little too grassy. And I just love jalapenos. I love them when they're roasted. And then we also use a hatch chili that's grown here in Colorado. I know that's a kind of a big controversial thing. I should be using Pueblo chilies, I'm well aware, but I've never been able to get any of the Pueblo chili growers to call me back. So we're using the hatch that's grown here in Colorado, and that's just the way it is. So I mean, really, for me, it's the roasted chilies that make electric lime. It's like anybody can make a green hot sauce with regular chilies, but it's the roasted chilies that really give that depth of flavor. And then the fresh lime juice is also the other key component there. It has to be fresh. It cannot be from concentrate with citric acid and all this other BS. Like, it has to be fresh.
It's literally the two things I know to right away. The richness and umami from the roast, right? And then super bright on the acid. I think very, very important two things. Sometimes green hot sauce can be really thin on the palate, not like the texture, but just like not have a lot of depth because there's not a lot of layering to it. So I really, really like that about it. Jalapenos, concerning because they can be bell pepper or they can be a serrano in spice level. How are you managing that?
We don't manage it. We just,
Okay.
spice varies, depending on the year they're grown, where they're grown, how much sun they get, how ripe they are when you harvest them. I mean, it's just, that's the deal with making hot sauce is you can't control for the capsaicin level in any one pepper. And this batch might be spicier than the next one. And that's the way it is. So
That's real life. I like it.
yeah,
If you hit a profile, I think you get a little bit of play, as long as it's not your spiciest. Like if people want to melt their face off, they expect it to be hot. But this
of
is
course.
supposed to be like a balanced, supposed to go with food. I'm sure that's why you go through so much of it, is because people are not just dabbing it, but they're doing a couple shakes of it. Yeah. Makes a lot of sense. All right, let's try some pandemic peach. Let's get into this a little bit.
Yeah.
So obviously the naming of it, you wanted to give people a chuckle. You wanted to do something that, felt of the moment and playful and on brand for you. Then we start recipe developing. What does the COVID-19 recipe development plan look like? Why this sauce?
Oh, it doesn't, recipe. That's the fun thing about recipe development is that you don't have to have a plan. You go, what's available, right? And that was the big deal for me is like, I got a couple boxes of dried peaches as samples for my distributor. And I was like, dried peaches, like who even knew those existed? But we were eating them and testing them out. And we were also testing apricots and some other stuff. And I thought, well, we've got 10 pounds of dried peaches. Let's do something. And we also had some dried cherries left over from the Chipotle Joe batch we had made. And so it was like, I bet they'd be delicious if we combine the two with a little red pepper. So let's check it out, So really just no plan. It's really like hot sauce can be anything that you want it to be with any ingredients. And you just gotta be interested and be creative, So, I mean, we dumped a couple batches in the trash. We just tried to make like a banana hot sauce that was disgusting. And so a couple batches went into the trash, but this one worked out. First recipe didn't matter. So
nice. Go there. How important is it for you to maintain the integrity of your brand by not putting shit out into the market? Like that's tough when you're dumping a batch. You're like, there's $200, there's $600, there's $4,000. As a small business owner and operator, that's challenging. Yet the detriment to your brand, if you put hot garbage out there, you might not be able to recover from, and it'll cost you everything. Talk about that, because that has to be a difficult decision.
So fortunately for us, all the batches we've tossed really have been like research and development batches, where I'll have an idea and it does not pan out well in the pot. You know what I mean? Yep. Which is rare, but sometimes it really does happen. You're like, oh, this is disgusting. Nobody would eat this, Not
even Merf would eat this.
Not even Merf. Yeah. So, and he'll eat anything. So, for me, we haven't had to, since I've maintained control of production the whole time I've owned the company, we haven't had to toss any batches. I mean, really, I figured out how to scale recipes in like my third year. Finally, it just like dawned on me like, Yeah. And so once I finally figured that out, the recipe continuity, sometimes you have to adjust when you're making a batch. If the chilies are too spicy, like sometimes we have to put 7 pounds of ghost pepper in a batch of Fool's Paradise. Sometimes we only have to put 2. It really, because it's supposed to be a spicy sauce, but you don't want to be too, you still want to try to hit that 8 out of 10 mark. And so, so we've never had to throw anything away. Praise the Lord.
That is lucky, because that can put you behind, and then you start coming from a scarcity mindset. You like scarcity in the market, scarcity mindset. You start to struggle a little bit and you start making bad decisions for your business. So I appreciate that. Dancing Queen, guajillo and chipotle. The nose on this one is awesome.
Yeah.
Best of the bunch so far.
Yeah, what's really fun about the Dancing Queen is that, we use I love the guajillo, it's kind of red and fruity in the way that Pinot Noir is red and fruity, it's just got like a really rich red flavor. And then we use the Chipotle Mecco, right? The lesser known cousin of the Merita that looks like, brown shoe leather. And I just find where the Merita is really smoky, I find that the Chipotle Mecco is really earthy and roasted, and just the complex flavors of the Mecco are so cool. And so it's delicious. I like that hot sauce a lot.
I love that you just went to wine tasting notes. I mean, leather, earthy. I got tobacco. I totally was there with you 100%. I never thought we'd go there. Let's talk about that. The importance of being able to communicate the flavor profiles and educate the consumer and talk about the difference of chipotle, because I mean, some people call it chipotle. Like, we can't even get people to pronounce it correctly. We don't know that there's multiple derivatives that have different variations of flavor from different regions of Mexico and different preparation. Like, how do you go about that process of giving people context so that they really have an appreciation for, yeah, it's just hot sauce? No, it's not. It's Pinot Noir. Like,
that's right. Yeah. You know, I think that we do a pretty good job of the product descriptions on the website. So from a direct to consumer perspective, I'm either talking to them on the website, right? Or I'm talking to them at the farmer's market, right? And then they get to say, what's a guajillo? You know, and I get to go, it's a guajillo, yeah. You know what I mean? And here's what it's like and the whole deal. So I think it's about, Merfs is the hot sauce for people who don't like hot sauce. You know, it's like, you don't like hot sauce because you don't like thin vinegar style chili garbage, yeah. Like this is the hot sauce for people who don't like hot sauce and for people that do. And so I think that customer education just occurs on like an individual basis. You know, I do a lot of cold calling to restaurants, a lot of showing up with food reps and just talking to people about, this is really what we set out to do, and with the Dancing Queen, I don't particularly like Chipotle hot sauce. I've never tried a Chipotle hot sauce made by somebody else that I've ever liked. Ever. And I wanted to make something that I would enjoy eating, and so that's why I made a Chipotle that's a little bit more acidic than a traditional Chipotle, a little bit less smoky, and a little bit more earth. Like, I just wanted it to be like a red pepper Chipotle, and I feel like I really achieved that. So
yeah, you nailed it. Actually, my favorite of the bunch so far, acid. When you're talking about wine, you pair food to the acid in wine. You're doing the same thing with hot sauces. I think your restaurant's street cred is like showing off in that way, because I think that's really important. So often hot sauces, I just don't use a lot of hot sauce a lot of time because I'm like, I'll just drink the hot sauce if I like it. Otherwise, yeah. It's completely ruining the balance of my food. And so I think that's super important. The acidity and the balance of the acidity, I think, is key. So I'm a big fan of that. All right, now, hold on, I want to see if people can see. We're getting up there on the thermometer here on the Scoville units. Mango and ghost pepper, fool's paradise. Now you're getting into, like, let's talk to some hotheads, some fire eaters and stuff. When you get to this is where people get really passionate. Like, they get and they're very protective of how spicy something is. When you get in this range, what's one interesting conversations you've had to have, or question you've had to answer about people when they start to get to these spicy levels? Like, give us a little of that. I'm sure you got some good stories there.
Really, people just more want to know, like, what the Scoville unit is. But Scoville is what most people don't understand about Scoville is, it's an objective measurement based on dilution with sugar water. So you basically measure Scoville by diluting something, right, with sugar water till it gets to where you can't taste spice anymore. So I really think spice is very individual, right? Like, what's spicy to me is not going to be spicy to you, is going to be really spicy to somebody else. And so I think the things that I get more often than not from the hotheads in the hot sauce community is that Merfs is not spicy enough, that I don't make blisteringly hot Dave's Insanity hot sauce. And it's like, well, guess what? That's not what I'm trying to do here. So, we did make the couillon that I sent you is our super hot. So that's our 6 million Scoville extract, next level, blow your wig back hot sauce, right? And even that is not spicy for a lot of the hotheads that contact me all the time, and I can't even eat the stuff, And so,
hot sauce. I mean, come on, people. There's fire blowing out of the top of the thermometer on this one.
And
I'm going to try this after, because, and just in case, I don't want to not be able to finish the show because I'm sitting here hacking. But I was totally to do this one because it's interesting. When I was growing up a kid in San Diego, I was like the half Japanese white kid who could like out pickled jalapeno on nacho day, eat all the Chicano kids in my class. So I always prided myself on being able to eat really hot things. Yet as I became a chef, I was like, hot for the sake of hot, there's no point. Like, if I'm trying to flex and show you how badass I am, fine. But if I'm trying to eat something, I'm much more in the range of what you're talking over here. So I'm super interested in that. When you're putting the temperature level, the heat index level because you have the thermometer, it's very subjective. Do you have people going, that's way spicier than your little meter, or have people go, well, why is it that high on the meter? Like, I'm interested in that because I think you have to build trust in the market. And if people have an expectation of a spice level and you're not delivering one way or the other, have you seen any challenges with that?
Yes. I think the people that buy hot sauce, right, eat hot sauce, so we're really looking more at people saying, well, that's way less spicy than I expected it to be based on the heat meter, right? And so that's what I get. And it's like for the cuyon for me is nuclear. I mean, like I eat a teaspoon of that and I'm miserable for the next 30 minutes, and that's kind of like my measurement of making nuclear hot sauce, right? Like, I don't want to have a line of nuclear products because then I have to taste test them all to make sure they're nuclear. And frankly, it's pretty miserable.
I love
So,
that you have a hot sauce that clearly you sell, and you're in the business of selling hot sauce that you said is straight up miserable. Yet even saying that would have people go, oh, I got to try that. Like,
yeah.
it's almost like saying that you want nothing to do with it is maybe the best sales pitch I've heard of any of the sauces that you're talking about. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
I love it.
I don't want anything to do with it. I mean, I just, I tried it a little bit on food the other day and I was like, no, thanks. It's way too hot. It's tearing my stomach up. So, but some people, I had a guy do a video, taste testing cuyon. It's like he ate like 6 chicken nuggets smothered in cuyon and he was a little bit miserable at the end, but not nearly as miserable as I would have been if I had done that. So it's just so individual and it depends on how much spicy food you eat, how your palate is. But I'm in the game with you. I'm going for balance. I like heat, but I don't want too much of it. And I just really I want to enhance the quality of food, not blow you out of the water with spice. So
well, that was the tagline, enhance anybody's food experience. I appreciate that. Last couple minutes, let's talk about some of the people. It takes a lot of people. You mentioned you're doing a lot of things, yet I know that so many other people have contributed, have pushed you, have told you, stop, what are you thinking? Like all of the dynamic that it takes to be an entrepreneur, to have that hustle, you need to surround yourself with good people. Who are some of those good people for you?
Man, I'd say the good people are, Mara G of Red Camper and Aaron Wagner of Elevation Ketchup. And, my dad is an entrepreneur and a financial consultant, and he's been a tremendous resource. And, of course, I come home to my wife every night and she's tremendous. She listens to all my moaning and crying about such a hard day at Merfs Condiments. And so it really does. It takes a village. I mean, starting a company is like having a newborn for like 10 years. You know what I mean? It's just, I don't know what other way to describe it. It keeps me up at night. I lose a lot of sleep. I never have an appetite. I'm never home. It's like, and so it really requires an immense amount of sacrifice and dedication. It's just like I went 2-3 years, right? And I was seeing like, my core top 3 friends, right? Like once every, 2-3 months. They're like, Kelly, where are you? And I'm like, you got to come to the warehouse if you want to see me, because I'm not anywhere else right now. And so
you need to open a restaurant so I can sell you hot sauce, because I'm more likely to see you more often if you're one of my accounts than if you're one of my good friends. It makes a lot of sense. It can be an isolating, lonely place for sure. And so I appreciate that you have some good people. And Mara, who you connected with us, is going to be on the show. I just got a notification today that there are some boozy condiments, I think, over in the mail that I got to go grab, because taste some boozy jams that Red Camper is all about. So I appreciate that. And I'm really grateful. I think what you're doing from brand position, from the way that you're building these hot sauces that actually feel like, for a chef, I want to eat these. It makes me excited because I taste some of these, and for a chef to start building a dish around a sauce is a powerful thing. Like, you cannot sleep on this. I think chefs taste something and they instantly become inspired and say, I have to build something around this. I'm compelled to do so. We taste an ingredient from the farm or a piece of fish from the ocean or river, and like we go on this journey. Not often are we tasting hot sauces that take you to that place. Usually they're like, all right, it needs a little bit of heat, and so you add some heat post, like very much the recipe or the dish is built. When I tasted these, instantly I'm going to a place that I've been, an ingredient that I have. So I think it's very, very smart. Anybody out there who's thinking about starting a company in this space, think about that. Chefs are a huge tool and opportunity. So any last thoughts? This is really great. I got a lot of hot sauce to eat. I'm going to Cugnon. What does cugnon mean?
Couillon is the Cajun French word for idiot.
Amazing. Amazing. Even
Yeah,
this,
yeah.
now you say, I want nothing to do with it, miserable, idiot, and 7 people are going to be like, I have to have that in my life. I think it's the
Exactly.
best I could ever imagine.
Yeah, it sounds pretty good. So, I mean, it's the same. Go ahead. It's the
Any
same.
last thoughts for you? Yeah, we'll let you go, and I got some hot sauces to eat. But any last thoughts you want to kind of share with the hospitality restaurant people as they're thinking about their hot sauce game?
Man, I just think that hot sauce can be whatever you want it to be. It can be a little bit spicy, it can be a lot spicy, but I think the most important point that you touched on today is really that it can have balanced flavor, right? And you can make hot sauce out of anything, that can go on anything, with anything, around anything, and that's what we're setting out to do, is make a line of well-rounded spicy condiments for everybody. So
I'm into it. Merf has got my attention. And I appreciate you being on. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much. It was a blast.
All right, Kelly. Cheers. Have a great day.
All right, you too. Bye.
All right, people. CPG. I'm going to get this up here on the screen. Best Served Good, our channel focused on CPG, consumer packaged goods. Not only do I think there's a huge, massive opportunity for people to get into this space, as people are looking more and more for local, they're looking more and more for boutique, small batch. They're looking to know the people and the story and have that connection. One, I think Merfs is doing that really well. To have chefs excited about sauces, again, as I mentioned, like right away, I taste these sauces, I go into recipe development, to dish development mode, because it entices me. Just like the first time you have an amazing potato, or the first time you have black sea bass or something like that, it just sparks something in a chef. So I think it's a very smart way to get people to build recipes around one of your products, even be it a finishing type sauce. Very, very smart play. And I would also say for restaurants, if you are in a restaurant and you are not packaging some salt cure that you do for your bacon, or some spice mixture for your smoked chicken, or your hot sauce, or your pickles, or your kimchi, if you are not figuring out a way at any time, especially today, to get that out to consumers, to be able to create another revenue channel, to have brand recognition outside of your 4 walls, that now your product is in people's homes, their friends come over, they get to show off. They say, hey, have you tried this XYZ sauce from the restaurant down the street? Never had this sauce. Sauce is amazing. I hadn't even heard of the restaurant. I'm going to the restaurant. It matters. It is one of the white spaces and the necessities for businesses, for restaurants today. So I think it's an opportunity and honestly responsibility that you're going to have for your business now, because the restaurant industry model is so thin margins, creating another opportunity to build your brand and your revenue to drive that top line. It really matters, people. Look out for Best Served Good. We're going to be talking a lot more operators in that space, and always trying to siphon some superpowers to be able to apply to restaurants and create more relationships. And if you haven't heard of Merfs and you're in the Denver area, get on it, people. All right, that's it for today. Appreciate you all. This 153rd live episode. We haven't skipped a day since March 18th. I really appreciate Kelly for being on. Cheers.